Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Whenever I'm ready. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Top Words. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to be talking about 10 words for connecting thoughts. These are going to be 10 words that you can use to transition between ideas. Very useful in both speech and in writing. Let's go. Also is a word that you can use to add information. I went to the store this morning. Also, I went and got coffee. That's true. However is used to contrast, or to contrast, depending on your pronunciation, to differentiate, to show a difference between two pieces of information. A good pattern would be A, however, B. So, for example, I love tonkotsu ramen. However, it is very high in calories, so I don't eat it often. Also true. On the other hand is, I feel, used more commonly in speech than it is in writing. Again, it's used to present like two sides to a story or two sides to some information. So, for example, I'm thinking about visiting Taiwan sometime this year, but on the other hand, I'm also thinking about visiting Thailand. Still. So it might be common to use still with a word like but or a word like even though. So you're saying even though there's some other factor, like I'm really, really tired this week, or even though I have a lot of homework to do, I still want to go out with my friends, or I still want to see a movie this weekend. So there's this thing that's maybe makes this other action difficult to do or tough to do or whatever. But even though there's this, you still have this over here. So maybe the two are kind of used as a pair. So I still want to go out later, even though I'm tired. Then, yes, a very useful word. We use then when telling stories a lot. So for example, if I could tell a story about my morning today, when I got up, I brushed my teeth, and then I cooked breakfast, then I did a little bit of work, then I took a shower, then I did some cooking, blah, blah, blah. You'll often hear and then as well. And then I, and then we, and then you, and so on. So then is really, really useful for sequence. So a useful word, I think. Besides. So it's commonly used in a pattern like besides that, meaning other than something else. I went out with my friends this weekend, but besides that, I didn't really do much. So another way to say that sentence is, I went out with my friends this weekend, but other than that activity, I didn't do very much. Okay. Meanwhile, or you might hear the similar expression in the meantime. It means while you're doing action A, at the same time, maybe somewhere else, action B is happening. This is used while telling stories a lot. So for example, I was working at my office all week last week. Meanwhile, my coworkers across town were having a party without me. So these two things are happening at the same time, but maybe separate from one another. Meanwhile. Likewise. Okay, likewise. I don't really use this word personally myself at all. It's often used after an introduction, similar to the pleasure is all mine in a formal situation. So maybe somebody says, hey, it was really great to see you last weekend. Thanks very much for coming to my barbecue. You can say, yeah, likewise, it was really good to see you and your family. So likewise means I have the same feeling, or I have the same idea. It's kind of a friendly phrase, but personally, I don't really use that to transition between thoughts. I would just use and, I suppose, but no. That's how I would use it. Instead. So instead, it's used like instead of. I want to A instead of B can be used to express your plans or what you want to do. I want to have Chinese food instead of Italian food tonight. So you're presenting two alternatives, essentially. So instead of means in place of or as a substitute for. So I should have drank a lot of water this morning, but instead I drank a lot of coffee. That's true. I wanted to have dinner with my friends this weekend. Instead, I had dinner at home. In addition. In addition, this is a really good word for more formal situations. I like to use in addition in writing. I don't really use in addition in speaking unless I'm trying to be very formal for some reason. Similar to additionally as well. So you make point A and point B, and then when you want to make one more point that's related to point A and point B, you can say, in addition, point C. So you're like building an argument, and in addition can be used to kind of finish that argument off a little bit. Our new marketing plan worked really well last month. We noticed increased sales in product A. In addition, we've gained a lot of new customers, something like that. So just you're quickly presenting a series of ideas that are related to one another. You can use in addition to finish it off. All right, so that's the end of 10 words for connecting thoughts. I hope you get to use a lot of these. Try to mix it up. It's good to use a variety of different words. Thanks very much for watching this episode, and we will see you again next time for more fun stuff. Bye! Whenever I'm ready. All right, welcome back to Weekly Words. I'm Alicia, and this week we're going to talk about commonly mispronounced, wow. This week we're going to talk about commonly mispronounced words, words that are often pronounced incorrectly. This is funny. I enjoy mispronouncing this first word. The first word is hyperbole. Hyperbole. It's not hyperbole, though it does sound very funny to say that. Hyperbole just means to exaggerate something, or to blow something up, make it really extreme. My friend uses a lot of hyperbole when she talks about her life stories. I really don't think some of those things happened to her. Hyperbole, not hyperbole. Next, Antarctic. I see. Antarctic is the correct pronunciation of this word. Some people say Antarctic? Really? Oh, I guess when you're saying this word quickly, you might leave out that first C in the Antarctic. So don't say that. Don't do that. Say Antarctic. The very, very cold region. The Arctic is the north cold region on the planet Earth. The south is the Antarctic. There's sort of like almost a hiccup in the word there, Antarctic. Oh, in a sentence, I'm thinking about taking a cruise to the Antarctic. What do you think I need? A penguin suit. Etc. Not etc. Oh, yeah, okay. I hear this ek thing a lot. Etc. is just used at the end of a list to imply that you mean other things. So the list is not exclusive to the things that you've listed. Other things can also be included in it. So in a sample sentence, types of fruits are apples, oranges, peaches, etc. There are others as well. So don't say etc. That's not correct. Etc. is good. The next word is jewelry. What? Not mayonnaise? The next word is jewelry. Jewelry. I think I'm probably guilty of this mispronunciation. I can't say that word. Mispronunciation. Where the word kind of gets a little bit smushed together and we say jewelry instead. We miss that second E sound in there. It should be jewelry. In a sample sentence, maybe you would say, I'm shopping for some jewelry for my mother for her birthday. Jewelry. We're too lazy. Prescription, not prescription. Okay, a prescription is something that a doctor gives you. When you're sick and you require medicine, the doctor will write you a prescription. Some people might say prescription. Wow, okay. I didn't even notice, and I was doing it while I was telling you guys not to do it. That's embarrassing. Prescription. A doctor writes you a prescription, not a prescription. When you go to the doctor's office, the doctor might say, here is your prescription. End. All right. Well, we've learned that I apparently can't pronounce some words the way that they're meant to be pronounced. So please work on your pronunciation. I will work on my pronunciation too. Thank you for joining us on Weekly Words this week. I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Welcome back to Weekly Words. My name is Alicia, and this week we're going to talk about commonly quoted movie lines. Ooh, I hope I know these. I'll be back. A lot of people like to try and do an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. This comes from the movie Terminator, where Arnold Schwarzenegger plays a robot from the future. And it's really awesome. You can use this with your friends. You can use this in common everyday situations where you have to leave someplace, but you want to tell people in a kind of a funny way that you plan on coming back. You can say, I'll be back. Inconceivable. Say this with a lisp. Inconceivable. If you have seen the movie The Princess Bride, inconceivable. So to conceive of something, something you can think about, putting that in at the beginning of the word means or not able to conceive of something. You can't even think about it. You can't believe it, in other words. This is one word that means I can't believe it, or this is just ridiculous. So you can use this anytime you're just shocked by something. You just can't believe that something is happening. You can say inconceivable. This is a very good one, a recent one from the movie Anchorman. Will Ferrell says this. He says, I immediately regret this decision. I immediately regret this decision. It's a very long phrase, but it means you've just made a choice and you very quickly, immediately realize this was a bad decision. I should not have done this. You can say, I immediately regret this decision, but with kind of like a flat tone to it. It's a little bit funny. Okay, next is a very famous quote from the movie Forrest Gump. Tom Hanks was in this movie. His character famously says, Mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. The next line is, you never know what you're gonna get. So this refers to picking a piece of chocolate out of a box of chocolates. Maybe you've seen kind of the fancy ones that have a number of different styles of chocolate in them. When you bite into it, oftentimes you don't know what's on the inside. So the character is saying that life is like that too. You might try to do a few different things, but you never know what's going to happen until you actually try to do it. So this is an interesting phrase to use. Maybe if your friend is having trouble in their life in some way, you can maybe try to console them or cheer them up by saying, Mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. The next quote comes from the movie Apollo 13, a very famous space movie. The quote is, Houston, we have a problem. Houston refers to the control center, NASA's control center, and the astronaut is famously quoted as saying, we have a problem. Anytime you run across a problem at work or with your friends, with your family, whatever, you can say, Houston, we have a problem, meaning you're just trying to alert the other people around you that something is wrong. You need help with something, perhaps. So it's usually not a very serious problem, though, I should say that. So don't use it for like a medical emergency. Use it for something, you know, like, oh, I'm out of eggs, Houston, we have a problem, you know, if you're cooking. Something very, very lighthearted is good. And that's the end of some famous movie quotes. So try to use a few of these if you like. They're kind of fun, and if you use them with the right timing, they can be very, very funny. And people will generally appreciate that you use such interesting references in your conversation. Thanks very much for joining us this week, and we'll see you again next time. Bye. Here's looking at you, kid. What does that even mean, though? A classic goodbye line, kind of. Welcome back to Weekly Words. I'm Alicia, and this week we are going to do words with strange plural forms. This is good practice, I bet. Let's start. Yeah. Antenna. The plural form of antenna is antennae. I think I would say antennae. Antennae. I think I would probably actually just say antennas. An antenna on an old TV set, for example, would be, it would kind of look like this. We'd call it bunny ears, where you had to adjust the bunny ears. You had to adjust the antennae to make the signal on your TV come in more clearly. Bugs, they have antennae from their heads. The next word is millennium. The plural is millennia. A millennium is a period of 1,000 years. 1,000 years is a millennium. A series of thousands of years would be called millennia. You might say, many millennia have passed since the earth was formed. Cactus is the next word. A cactus is a plant, a thorny plant. These are the arms of the cactus. I couldn't make the trunk of the cactus. Wow, you can put a picture on the screen instead of my amazing cactus. Cactus, the plural of cactus is cacti or cactuses. I think I'm more inclined to say cacti. So when you go to the desert, you might say, keep an eye out for cacti. If you step on one, it could really hurt you. The next one is an interesting one. I don't think I've ever used this word in the singular. Like if you have a swimming pool or if you've seen a pond or whatever, it's that green sort of scummy stuff that accumulates on top of it or on the sides of your pool if you haven't cleaned it in a while. Algae, bacteria, and things that like to live in the water. There's a singular form, and I'm looking at it for the first time. I don't know how. Alga? To use the plural, then you would say, I need to clean my pool. There's a lot of algae in it. Yeah. Next is ox. Ox. The plural of ox is oxen. These animals used to be used for farming. I don't know that they are very much anymore. I don't have much personal experience with farming. But they look like really, really big cows with huge horns. Huge horns, yeah. Okay, next is the end. Plural. Words that have weird plural forms. So please keep them in mind when you are trying to use them in conversation and use the correct form of the plural. Thank you for joining us again this week for Weekly Words. Next time we will see you for more Weekly Words. That was weird. We'll see you again next week for more fun information. Take care. Bye. Oh no! All right, welcome back to Weekly Words. My name is Alicia, and this week we are going to talk about commonly used onomatopoeia. This is going to be a fun one. We talked briefly about an onomatopoeia, zoom, in a previous episode of Weekly Words. We're going to talk some more about some more. We're going to talk about more today. The first word is beep. Oh, beep. Beep is any kind of electronic sound or a car sound. It was also in a popular American cartoon, Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. The Roadrunner would commonly say meep meep. A car sound will usually make a beep or a honk sound. For electronics, however, the beep becomes a little bit more robotic. We'll often say like beep, 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 beep. So in a sentence, let's say you have a computer problem. You tell your friend, the computer won't stop beeping at me. What do I do? Next is the sound jingle. Jingle is any kind of light ringing sound. This word gets used a lot in holiday seasons, particularly Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's. Any jingling sound is very commonly assigned to bells. Like the song Jingle Bells, for example, is a perfect example of this. Jingle is just the sound that a bell makes. In a sentence, let's see, you might say, she has a small bell attached to her phone, so she jingles everywhere she walks. It's really irritating. Okay. The next word is thump. A thump is for something to hit heavily. To give an example, the people who live in the apartment above me often thump on the floor. It sounds like maybe they're dropping something heavy or they're stepping very heavily. All right. Next is splash. Anything that falls into liquid, lands in liquid, makes a splash. It's that psh sort of sound that comes from water or any other liquid, really. We refer to that as a splash sound. There is also a popular Tom Hanks mermaid movie called Splash. This has nothing to do with that. About him falling in love with a mermaid. I made a big splash when I jumped into the swimming pool this summer. That has kind of a double meaning. Oh, mysterious. Next is blurt. It means to say something quickly. I blurted out the news as soon as I heard it. Like, I blurted out the secret. I couldn't hold it in any longer. It means you just say something without thinking, to blurt. The first part of the word, blut, that blur sound, it sounds like something is just kind of, sort of slips out on accident. And then the harsh t, blurt, the T at the end is like a kind of a final, like, oh my gosh, I've just said something. I've slipped and then I've said something. Oh no, I didn't think about that. All right, that's the end of that one. So I hope you learned a few new onomatopoeias that you can try out the next time. Thanks for joining us for Weekly Words, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Hi! Sorry. Hey, and welcome back to Weekly Words. My name is Alicia, and this week we're going to talk about interjections. This is going to be fun. Let's start. The first word is bah, B-A-H. Maybe you're upset about something or you're tired of dealing with something. People will often throw up their hands like this when they say it. They'll go bah and walk away. Bah humbug is a very, very well-known use of this interjection. This from the story A Christmas Carol. One of the characters says bah humbug at all these things that upset him. All right, the next interjection is aha. Aha is used whenever you feel surprised about something or when you have a good idea about something. For example, sitting at work. Actually, maybe you shouldn't do this at work because your coworkers will think you're crazy. If you're feeling really excited about your idea, you can go like this with your finger and go, aha, I have an idea for my presentation next week. Okay. The next one is meh. This one I think has only become popular in the last, I don't know. It started being used, I think it started more on the internet, and now it has come to be used in everyday life. Meh is just when you're not very excited about something. Maybe you went to a party, your friend asks you how it was, and you're like, I went, it was pretty meh. We use it like an adjective, actually. Or you can just use it as a one-word interjection. Meh, meh, meh. Okay. The next word is oh. Oh is a very, very useful one. You can use oh in a number of situations. When you're surprised, when you're thinking of something, when you want to have kind of a soft introduction to whatever you're saying. I think I tend to use it as a question or when I'm feeling surprised. So when my friend tells me something like, oh, hey, I have this great news, I'll say, oh. Just by itself as a question to get somebody's attention. I might say, oh, did you see that new movie last week? A sentence starter for me anyway. Okay, the next word is We use when we're thinking about something, when we need a minute to consider our thoughts. It can be used at the beginning of a sentence or just while you're thinking on its own. What might be a good example sentence for End. Those are all interjections. Try to use them. If you use these correctly in your speech, throughout your speech, it'll help you to sound a lot more natural and a lot more smooth in your speaking ability. So give them a try. Thanks again for joining us this week, and I will see you next time for more Weekly Words. Bye. Begin. Hi everybody, welcome back to Weekly Words. My name is Alicia, and this week we're going to look at some common English idioms. Let's begin. The first word, or phrase rather, is about to. About to means you're going to start something, you're going to begin doing something. For example, I'm about to start explaining this idiom to you. Hey. Okay, the next word, or phrase, idiom. The next idiom is by the way. The word here they've used is incidentally. It's a way to transition to another topic that's related to what you're talking about. For example, this week I'm going to a party. By the way, did you hear about the party happening next week? So they're somewhat related. Okay. The next idiom is in a way. In a way. This is kind of... In a way, it was a good thing that the burrito shop was closed because otherwise I would have eaten way too much. And you can use this to show that there are maybe two sides to a situation. Maybe some things are negative, maybe some things are positive. Next is on the other hand. I hear this a lot. On the other hand is a way of just saying however, or to share two different sides to a story. For example, I think my coworker is really irritating. On the other hand, at parties, he's really funny. So you can show two maybe different sides to a point with this phrase. Next is a matter of fact, as a matter of fact, as an idiom. This is a long way to just say actually or really. It's a little bit more formal sounding, so you might use it in a business meeting, for example. Everybody at the business meeting might feel a little bit unsure about the previous month's sales. And you can begin your presentation by saying something like, I know everybody was a little bit unsure about last week's or last month's sales performance, but as a matter of fact, things improved. And that's the end. Those are some common idioms that you might hear in English. Give them a try. They're pretty useful, and you might hear a lot of them in conversation. Thanks very much for joining us this week, and we'll see you again next time for more information. Bye. Hi, welcome back to Weekly Words. My name is Alicia, and this week we're going to talk about ways to say hi. This should be fun. Let's get started. First is yo. This one is a little bit casual, in case you couldn't tell. Used for close friends, maybe family members if you have kind of a silly relationship with them. Just quick, short, easy to do. In a sentence, yo, how's it going? Howdy. Howdy, traditionally associated with cowboy culture, I suppose. You should play a banjo maybe, or you've just gotten off a horse. I don't know. I use howdy from time to time. Howdy. 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 Dun, 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 dun. That was my banjo. Yeah, in a sentence you might say, howdy folks. Welcome to the barbecue place. Next is hey. Hey is a good, friendly phrase. You can usually use hey with a wave and smile, look happy. If you don't, people might think that you're down in the dumps. People might think you're not in a very good mood. In a sentence, hey, I heard you got engaged last week. Congratulations. Something like that. It's usually kind of a cheery, happy expression. All right, next is what's up. What's up is the long form of sup. This does not literally mean what is above you right now. If you want to be funny, you can say the ceiling or the sky, but that joke gets old really fast, and chances are the person you're talking to has already heard it before. It just means what are you up to? What is going on with you? In a sentence, what's up? Did you have a good weekend? Typical response to what's up is not much. Find out some more responses in English in 3 minutes. We did an episode on this. Nothing much. How about you? That's pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. I don't know what I'm doing. The next one is long time no see. You can use this when you haven't seen the other person for a long time. You're at a party, you're at an event, or whatever. Anytime it's been a long break, you can decide how long is. Not the day before or the week before, maybe a few weeks or a month, whatever is unusual for you and this other person. When you see them, you can say, hey, long time no see, how have you been? That's the end. So those are a few different ways to say hi in a few different situations. I hope that you have a chance to try them out the next time you meet someone or you greet someone. Thanks very much for joining us this week, and we'll see you again soon. Bye. Instead of saying sup, I like to say soup. Sup. Soup? Hi everybody, welcome back to Top Words. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to be talking about 10 different phrases that you can use to respond to the question, how are you? So let's go. I'm great. The first phrase is, I'm great. If someone says, how are you? You can say, I'm great. Try to say, I'm great with a kind of an upbeat voice. So something like, how are you? I'm great. I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling bad. If you say, I'm feeling bad, the other person is probably, if they're a friend of yours or a coworker, going to ask you why, what happened. So if you want to use I'm feeling bad, make sure you have an explanation ready. Anyway, somebody says, how are you? And you go, I'm feeling bad. Maybe I went out for drinks last night with my coworkers. Oops. I'm okay. I'm okay. I feel like this is one of those intonation practice ones. I'm okay with that, I'm okay. It's like sort of upward intonation. You're like, cool. But if someone says, how are you? And you're like, I'm okay. They're like, oh no, what happened? So you can use your intonation with I'm okay to make it a good thing or a not so good thing. But either way, it's not like a very super serious response. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I imagine this would be in a more formal situation. Like if my friend said to me, how are you? And I was like, thank you for asking. They'd be like, what? I would say I'm fine or I'm doing well, I'm doing great, plus thank you for asking. So I have to say, how are you? Oh, I'm doing very well, thank you. Oh, that's how I would use it. And you? The next one is and you. Like the least natural response to how are you is I'm fine, thank you, and you. Like just just take it out of your head. Nobody says that. I always say, how about you? That's a much more natural thing. How are you? How are you? How are you can be a response, again, after you have given your answer to the question. How are you? I'm great. How are you? How are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm great. How are you? I'm okay. How are you? How have you been recently? How have you been recently? This is only useful if you haven't seen the other person for a while. I'm not bad. I'm not bad. I'm not bad. How are you? I'm not bad. No, I'm not bad. Things could be worse. I would probably do this. I'm sleepy. The next expression is I'm sleepy. It's like so specific. If someone said, how are you? I would probably say, I'm okay, but I'm a little sleepy. I don't know that I would just say I'm sleepy, unless it's a really good friend of mine. It's a person close to you. You can say, I'm so tired. I would say I'm super tired or I'm really tired. And I feel like that's a little bit more natural than just I'm sleepy. I'm good. One that I use a lot, if someone says, how are you? I say, I'm good. That's just probably my go-to response. Yeah, I'm good, I'm good. Maybe I'll repeat it while smiling. I'm good, I'm good. Yeah, thanks for asking. Great. How are you? That is the end. Those are 10 phrases that you can use to respond to the question, how are you? If there's one takeaway from this and from other things that we've done over the last few years on this channel, just get rid of that I'm fine, thank you, and you, and pick one of these that we've talked about today. Of course, if there's another expression that you use for a response to how are you, I'd be very interested to learn about that. But in general, you're pretty safe if you stick with these, I think. So thanks very much for watching this episode of Top Words, and we will see you again soon. Bye. Nice. Vamos a la piscina. That means we're going to the movie theater, right? All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Alicia. Welcome back to Top Words. Today, we're going to be talking about must-know expressions for agreeing and disagreeing. Very useful. So let's go. Exactly. When you agree 100% with something someone else has said, you can say exactly. For example, Ramen is one of the best foods in the world. Exactly. I don't agree. I don't agree. You have a different opinion from the other person. They tell you, I think that soccer is the best sport. You can say, I don't agree, but be prepared to provide your own opinion after this. I think soccer is the best sport. I don't agree. I think that football is. Oh, that could cause some problems. Soccer, football. Americans say football when we mean American football, but the rest of the world says football when they mean soccer. Maybe. Maybe is when you don't know, when you can't make a decision or when you're not sure about something. Okay, so someone tosses you an opinion. Someone says their idea to you. I think it's gonna rain tomorrow. You can say, yeah, maybe. You don't know for sure, yes or no, but it's possible. It's a good sort of in-between expression. But if you use maybe all the time, it's gonna sound really strange and it's gonna sound like you can't make a decision. So use maybe very sparingly. Don't use it so often. Maybe is very commonly used as a soft no. It's up to you to figure that out among the people that you're talking to, though. Do you want to stay over at my house this weekend? Maybe. I couldn't agree with you more. You are in complete agreement with the other person and really want to communicate that to them. You think that what they have just said is really, really correct, super correct. Yes, you are completely on board with that idea. You can say, I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't, the negative form. I could not agree with you more, meaning it's not possible that I could agree more with what you're saying. Next week, it's really important that we have a barbecue because summer is ending. And then your friend can say, I couldn't agree more. That's a fantastic idea. I'll buy steak. I think we're going to have to agree to disagree. Agree to disagree. This is a kind of, it seems like a simple phrase, agree to disagree. So you're agreeing with the other person. You agree that we have a different opinion. Agree to disagree. I would use this expression at the end of a discussion. So person A and person B have different opinions, and they've been discussing those opinions for a long time. And person A is not changing his or her opinion. Person B is not changing his or her opinion. So you can say at the end of the conversation, okay, we have to agree to disagree. Let's just accept our different opinions and move on in the conversation. You have a point there. This is not necessarily an agreement or disagreement phrase. It's a small agreement within a larger discussion. So maybe you've been discussing a topic for a long time and you've disagreed with the other person until this time. This person says something and you agree with that. You have a point there. So there's one thing that this person has said that you can agree with. You can say, you have a point there. I think that's correct, or I agree with that point. That's exactly how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. Meaning, my feeling is the same as your feeling, or my opinion is the same as your opinion. That's exactly how I feel. Maybe you can use this if someone describes your feeling very accurately. For example, you can say, I feel like the company is really heading in a nice new direction. You can say, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I really like the new boss. I don't think so. I don't think so. It's soft. It's not so direct. It's not a hard, I disagree, but just, I don't think so. Of course, you can use it to discuss opinions, but you can also use it when you're making plans. Are you going to that party this weekend? I don't think so. It's not a disagreement, but it can be used as a negation phrase, a negative response to something. When used as an opinion, I think Chinese is the hardest language to learn. You can say, I don't think so. I think that Arabic is the hardest language to learn. Yes, you're right. Yes, you're right means you're correct. Yes, I agree with you. I think that's the right information. I think that's the correct opinion. Just a very clear agreement phrase. You're right. It also has the nuance of being correct. So maybe there was a possibility the other person could be incorrect. Did you know that pepperoni pizza is the most delicious pizza in the world? Yes. You're right. So you could change it to that's right for that opinion. You can use your to talk specifically about the person itself, but that's right. Yes, that's right. That information is correct. I guess so. I guess so. It's an agreement, but it's sort of a flaky agreement. I guess so. It's like you don't really want to make a decision, but you don't feel strongly in one, like in agreement or disagreement, you can say, I guess so. It's usually said with this tone of voice, I guess so. You know, we don't really say, I guess so. Generally, it's like you can't quite make a decision or you don't want to make a decision. You can say, I guess so. Hey, we're gonna go for Chinese food for dinner tonight. Do you want to come? Yeah, I guess so. You don't feel strongly either way. I guess so. I'm afraid I disagree. It's a rather polite expression that you can use in a business situation, for example. I'm afraid here doesn't mean I'm actually scared or I'm really frightened, but just it's a softener that's used at the beginning of sentences to introduce a negative opinion. So I'm afraid I disagree, or I'm afraid I can't agree with you, for example. I think that you need to adopt a new policy for your company. I'm afraid I disagree. It's a soft disagreement that sounds a bit more formal than some of the other phrases we've talked about so far. Absolutely. Absolutely means 100%. Yes, exactly, precisely, definitely. It's a quick and clear and can be polite as well as casual word that means you agree with the other person. Hey, do you want to go to the beach this weekend? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that's the end. So those are some phrases that you can use to agree and disagree with other people. There are a lot of them, and you can kind of mix and match them as you see fit. So give them a try. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Top Words, and we'll see you again soon. Bye. Playa's Beach. Okay.
Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia, and today I'm joined again in the studio by
Michael, hello.
Hi Michael, thanks for joining us again today. Today we're going to be looking at a few tips for learning another language. So each of us have prepared a few things that we think are really useful when learning another language. Both of us have studied another language to some degree. So we're going to talk about things that were useful for us and which might be useful for you as you practice your English skills. So let's begin. Do you want to start?
Sure.
Go for it.
I would say absorb media. This is something that actually, when I meet someone and they sound like a native English speaker, and I go, you know, where are you from? Are you from Australia, America? And they're, no, I'm from blah, blah, blah. What? You mean you're not a native English speaker? And every single time they tell me, I say, you know, how did you learn? Please, I'm an English teacher. I want to know. I want to help people, blah, blah, blah. And every single time they tell me, oh, I just love blah, blah, blah culture. So usually I love American culture. I love Justin Bieber and Lady Gaga, blah, 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 blah. And so all day, every day, they're reading, they're watching movies, they're sitting on YouTube and just absorbing it. And it doesn't feel like you're studying, but you are. And so then you're more likely to study. So it's like a fun way to study. It's helped me. I've changed everything on my iPod. So even when I'm lazy, I have no choice but to listen to the language I'm learning.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip. I had the same thing, essentially. Mine was just phrased slightly different. I said, find something that interests you in your target language. So if English is your target language, whatever it might be, if it's music, if it's movies, if it's comic books, I don't know, if you're interested in dating someone who speaks your target language, whatever it is, find something to motivate you, something that's going to make you want to study and make you want to learn that language so that you have that, you know, that drive to do it. I totally agree with you. Yeah, I think it's a great tip. Okay, cool. So we had one thing that was the same. I guess I'll share another one of mine if that's okay. My next one is one that I try to do myself, but I know that I mess up every once in a while. Practice every day. Even if it's just a few minutes, whether you can spare an hour or 2 hours, or just I myself study while I'm, you know, commuting to work on the subway. Just find something that you can do every single day so that you don't lose your place in your studies. Just whether it's vocabulary or picking a new grammar point to be looking at, or just, you know, finding a new phrase on TV that you thought was interesting. Just being an active learner every single day really, really contributes, I think, to your abilities to speak and to understand another language. It's just practice every single day something.
I think this is a really useful piece of advice for anything. I think a lot of people, you get overwhelmed and, you know, you think, man, I want to be here, whether it's exercising or playing the piano or whatever, and you just want to finish, you know, a year's worth of time in one day. And so you study really hard, you procrastinate, and then one day you cram as much as you can, you get burnt out, and then you don't do it for weeks, months. And that's not the way humans work. We're creatures of habit. Any of the best, the greatest, whether they speak a language like you as wonderfully as you do, or whatever, or play piano or whatever, every single time you ask them, and it's brick by brick by brick. So I agree 100%, and I also don't follow this advice all the time.
Yeah.
It's tough. I think the key is to not give up. So for me, honestly, my languages I'm not as confident, but as far as exercise, you'll get lazy and you'll pig out and you go down.
Yeah.
But you can't just give up and just let it go down.
Right.
Just remember the big picture, that you are making progress, even if there's some decline. So if you
Yeah.
get busy with work, whatever, get back on it, keep practicing
Yeah.
English, get back on EnglishClass101.com.
What is your next tip?
So my next tip is also related to practice every day, is practice fearlessly. So this means, it's easy to learn some basic phrases in English. Hello, I'm fine, thank you, and you? And you sound like a robot and you feel comfortable in your little comfort zone, but you don't expand. You got to be willing to make mistakes. And I think it's the same as with dancing. If you're afraid, you look stupid. If you're reserved and you're off onto the side of the club and you're just kind of moving like one shoulder in your little comfort bubble, it looks really stupid. It looks way more stupid than if you were actually going all out and just having fun with it.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing with language. Don't just stick to your little comfort of, hello, I'm fine, thank you, and you, and sound like a robot.
Yeah.
You got to have some fun with it. Try to use those big words that maybe you mess up. That's okay. That's how you learn, just like a kid. So let's see your other one.
My last tip then, is kind of general, I guess. I've just chosen immersion. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to the country, where they speak the language that you're studying, but just find a way to, even if it's just for a short period of time every day or once a week or whatever it is, if there's some way that you can immerse yourself in the language that you're studying for a period of time and only study, Spanish, or only study English in your case, for a period of time every day or every week, every month, whatever it is, on a regular basis, so you get used to just hearing that and just experiencing that, I think is really, really helpful, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's... No, that's not the other one. I thought I wrote it down. Yeah, I agree. One of the things that most people don't realize is that now it's the 21st century, everyone's connected. So a lot of people just assume that if you move to the country, you're going to pick up the language, because immersion is one of the best, most, time and time again proved ways to learn a language. But that's not always the case. Like, I have a lot of friends in different countries who don't learn it at all. They're married to a local, but it's easy to just sit on Facebook and talk to your old friends and never actually, practice and put it out there. So if you can't make it out to another country, don't worry about it, because even if you do, sometimes, it's that mindset. It's actually doing it.
Yeah, I agree.
good.
I agree. Good. Okay, what's your last tip?
My last tip is take grammar with a grain of salt. So, of course, grammar is essential for learning a language. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. You should definitely focus on that. But what I've found is that when you're learning from a non-native English speaker, they feel safe teaching grammar because there's set rules they can teach, even if their pronunciation isn't correct or any of that. And, you can just get into that rut. But the reality of most languages is we break those rules all the time. So don't worry too much. If your grammar is a little off or you're having trouble learning it, just kind of go with it and just try to repeat what you hear.
Yeah.
I don't know about you though. What do you
No,
think?
I think that's an interesting point though, because I think that, like you say, I think grammar is a really safe place for a lot of people, because like you say, there are rules. It's clear that I can see that, if I put a noun and a verb like this, then I'm going to make a sentence that says this, and I understand that. It's really easy to understand. But I think that something that a lot of learners, and myself, I'm guilty of this too, is that there's a limit to how much grammar that you can learn. Like, once you learn the grammar, you've learned the grammar. It's possible, I think, to master the grammar of any language, but it's the vocabulary that continues to change. Every year there are new words in every single language that get developed. People are making up new words every day, especially in English. So experiment. Once you find that you've learned the grammar, move on. Keep exploring new vocabulary. Find new and interesting things to do with the tools that you've given yourself. So don't be afraid to experiment with your vocabulary too. If you find something that you might like to try to make a verb out of, like Google, for example, give it a try. See if it works. If the other people around you are confused, maybe it didn't work. If the other people around you laugh or continue with the conversation, hey, maybe you just made a new word. You never know. So give it a try. Thanks very much for joining us for our English tips on this lesson. We will see you again next time. Bye. Is it recording? Hi there, welcome back to Weekly Words. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to talk about commonly looked up words. These are words that are the most commonly searched for on Merriam-Webster Online, which is a popular English dictionary. So let's get started. The first word is pretentious. Pretentious is a word that means you're trying to impress other people, or someone who tries to impress other people by making themselves seem more exciting or more important or cooler than they really are. In a sentence, you might say, my coworker is so pretentious. He's always exaggerating his stories to make himself sound important. Don't be pretentious. The next word is ubiquitous. Ubiquitous just means something that you see everywhere. Smartphones. Sorry, I'm still laughing about smartphones. It's a fern that's really smart. You can tell when you need extra oxygen. In a sentence, you might say, smartphones are ubiquitous. Everybody has one now, and I have one too. Albeit. Albeit just means although. In a sentence, she was making progress, albeit rather slowly. The next word is ambiguous. Ambiguous just means something that's, the meaning is not really very clear to you. Maybe if you're reading the newspaper, for example, and a sentence is written kind of strangely, you might say, the meaning of this is rather ambiguous. All right, love. Really? Baby, don't hurt me. Love is just that intense feeling where you really, really like somebody else. It could be your family member, it could be a partner, a romantic partner, whatever. It could be a food you really like as well. Just anytime you have that really deep, strong emotion, you can use the word love. For example, I love pizza. It's my favorite food. Okay, and that's the end of commonly searched for words in the dictionary. I hope you learned a few new things. Give them a try, and we'll see you again next time for more Weekly Words. Bye. Just doesn't sound natural to me. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Okay. Hi, welcome back to Weekly Words. I'm Alicia, and today we're going to talk about phrases that aren't cool anymore. Woohoo! I probably say a whole lot of these phrases, so I'm about to embarrass myself. The first phrase is sweet. Oh, sweet's not cool anymore. Sweet means cool. Sweet means something that's good. You might say, oh man, that skateboard trick you just did was sweet. Groovy. I still say groovy. Groovy means cool, groovy means good. It was used in the 70s when, funky, groovy music was popular. In a sentence like, oh, hey, those are some groovy moves on the dance floor. I don't know if we can use that. Going steady. Going steady is kind of an old-fashioned phrase as well. Going steady just means you're dating, someone who is dating someone else. Like me and Trisha are going steady. Well, it just means you're dating, you're a couple. Not, oh, this word is actually what the entire holiday of April Fool's Day is based around. That's a lie. Particularly, I would say for junior high school students, this phrase is very popular. They might say something like, hey, Steve thinks you're cute. Not. So in other words, it's often used as an insult. Duh. Oh, duh. Duh. Duh is used when someone says something really stupid or something really obvious. So if you say something like, oh, hey, it's raining, the other person who can also maybe look out the window you're both sitting in front of might say, duh, because you've just indicated something very, very obvious. You can also use duh to make fun of yourself when you do or say something really stupid. As soon as you realize this, you can go, oh, duh, yeah, I'm learning today that I'm not cool. That's the end. Oh, okay. Well, those are some phrases that are no longer cool. I hope you learned something about things that are no longer cool, but you can still use these words. Just, don't expect to sound really interesting or hip to the lingo if you use these words. Okay. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to English Topics. My name is Alicia, and I'm here today again with
Michael. Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about questions that we have been asked. So let's begin. What is the first question that you would like to discuss today, Michael?
I would like to discuss what's the main difference between British and American English? So, for me, I'd like to get this out of the way. Canadians and Americans sound pretty much the same. It's hard for us to tell the difference even native English speakers. There's a couple telltale signs, they'll say some things, but it's usually regional. So I guess North Americans and then like UK English. And again, there's a lot of different accents and dialects. It all depends. But for me, the easiest way is Americans enunciate every word. We're very loud and we open our mouths a lot. Hello, how are you? Where are you from? Teacher, water. We enunciate every sound. So for me, a dead giveaway is that R, that end R.
Right, it's tough. I listen for vowel sounds and try to guess based on that. So your question is about British English and American English. There's also Australian English, there's Scottish English, there's Irish English. There's so many different English-speaking dialects. And honestly, sometimes it's hard for us to understand. We're both from relatively the same part of America, so we have the same speaking style. Our accents are the same. But to go through all of the different dialects and to try and approximate, to try and say them badly too would probably just be a waste of time. But you're on the internet. Look it up. Okay, I guess we'll go to the next one. Let's see. My questions. Let's see. I'm going to start with a grammar question that I get a lot. A grammar question that I come across, students ask me this question. The present tense versus the progressive tense. What is the difference? When should I use present tense versus progressive tense? So by this, I mean of verbs. The present tense is used for facts, things which are always true, things which are part of your regular schedule. The progressive tense has a few different meanings to it, a few different uses to it, but one of the meanings or one of the uses is to express something which is temporary, which is not part of your regular schedule, or another use is to describe a trend. To use a very common mistake as an example, if I ask the question, where do you work? A lot of times the response I get from my students is, I am working in America. Depending on the situation, that sentence could be correct, but if you're talking about the place where you work always, every day you go to that job, it could be the location of your office, it could be the country or the city where you work. If it's a part of your regular schedule, you want to explain a fact that is true about your life, you should use the present tense, not the progressive tense. So the correct version of that sentence should be, I work in America. That's part of my regular schedule. If, however, you're only in America for the week, for example, you can use the progressive tense, but it's more natural to say, for example, this week I'm working in America. That's a much, much more natural sentence to use.
How do I pronounce the TH sound? So, depending on who I'm teaching English to, they'll have problems with different pronunciation sounds. But for me, I think one that's common with a lot of different cultures is the TH sound. And I think, again, this goes back to like the different ways of speaking and how Americans, we enunciate every word and we push the way we speak to the very tip of our mouth. That's the TH sound. So most people are capable of making the TH sound, but they're just a little shy and it just doesn't seem natural. It's almost as if you can bite the tip of your tongue off when you say the sound, right? And then just another thing to note is that TH can have a hard or a soft or voiced or unvoiced sound. So the is hard or voiced. You hum, the. And then with like think, it's a soft or unvoiced. You don't hum, you don't vibrate, you just say think. But it's still, the tongue touches your teeth. Think. That.
This is another grammar point that I get questions about from time to time. It is the present perfect tense versus the simple past tense. The question is, when do I use them? So present perfect tense, let's see, an example of present perfect tense would be, I have been to Paris. Simple past tense would be, I went to Paris. What is the difference? We use the present perfect tense to talk about a life experience or something which occurred in the past, but which still affects the present. So in this case, in my Paris example sentence, it's something that happened in the past, but exactly when is not important. We just want to say, I have had the life experience of going to Paris. Simple past, however, is used to refer to a specific point in time in the past. So for example, I went to Paris last summer. it's important that you know I went last summer. If the time point when you went to Paris is not important, use the present perfect tense. So this is really useful for talking about your travel experiences, for talking about your study experiences, foods you have and have not eaten. So just try to keep in mind when you should use these two. They're very commonly used together. Like, for example, you might use the present perfect tense to introduce a question. Have you ever been to Paris? And the follow-up answer, oh, yes, I have been to Paris, using the present perfect tense again. But then a common pattern is to follow that answer up with a simple past question. When did you go? So you can see it changes from present perfect tense to simple past tense. So a larger life experience to a more simple life experience. So they're used together, but just be careful. Try to be aware of, am I talking about an overall life experience or a very specific life experience? This is one that many of my students struggle with.
This is more cultural. Why do Americans wear shoes inside the house, on the bed, etc.? I feel like this depends, and this is starting to change. I take my shoes off in most houses, but I guess it's more so for comfort, whereas I feel like on the east side of the world, it's more of like a cleanliness kind of a thing. And if you do still wear your shoes, it's pretty taboo. Whereas in the States, I feel like most people, from my experience, anecdotal evidence, just personal experience, most places you take off your shoes, but if they have a party, they let people wear shoes inside the house. They don't care. And a lot of my friends will see American movies and they see somebody, a main character, wearing their shoes on the bed, on the couch, something like that. Again, from my experience, it's not that big of a deal, but typically you wouldn't do that. For me, the rule of thumb, like the unsaid rule, is that you can put your shoes up, but you don't let your shoes touch the couch. You kind of, you hang off, right? So you can, if you want to lay on the couch without taking your shoes off, you let your feet hang off. Because yeah, of course they're going to get dirty. But yeah, it's just not as emphasized as much in our culture. I don't know.
The last question I have is, can I ask a question? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. And in probably 95% of cases, the answer to the question, can I ask a question, is yes. Okay. Why did I choose this question? My students sometimes will put their hands up in my lesson and say, can I ask a question? Like, one, this is your English class. Yes, please ask questions. But two, also, this is a discussion I've been having with a few people recently just about the mindset that I think is really important when speaking English. We have experience teaching in Asia, where maybe there's a different approach to conversations. I don't know if this is the same cultural approach to conversations that people from other countries have, but don't wait for permission to speak. Don't wait to jump into a conversation. Just go for it. Don't wait for someone to say, oh, would you like to speak now? Because that's never going to happen.
So don't be shy, get your tongue out and say things, and don't worry if it sounds rude or too polite or whatever. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Just it's a shift in mindset. If you when you start speaking that second language, like you said, if you just change your mind just a little bit, just make a small shift in your mindset, maybe you'll see, that's what it takes. Just let go a little bit of your home language and see what happens. Great. So those are some questions that we have been asked about teaching, about English, about culture. If you have any other questions, by the way, please make sure to leave them in a comment for us. Or if there's something that you've always wondered about, or if there's something that you've encountered recently that confused you, whatever, leave it in a comment for us and maybe we'll talk about it in the future. Thanks very much for watching this episode of English Topics. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and we will see you again next time. Bye! Welcome back to Weekly Words. My name is Alicia, and this week we're going to talk about commonly misspelled words. I'm excited about this because I like catching misspellings. Believe. To believe something just means to accept something as true or not true in the negative. Believe is commonly misspelled. Do they spell it believe? Well, believe is commonly misspelled. Don't do that. So if you're having trouble remembering the correct way to spell the word believe, consider that the word lie is in the middle of the word, which is kind of counterintuitive if you've been paying attention to the weekly word series. If you're trying to persuade a friend to do something, you might say, please believe me, this is going to be the best party ever, you have to come. Okay. The next is a lot. This is commonly misspelled because people like to put the and the lot together. It's actually two separate words, and lot. A lot just means a large number of something or a large amount of something, many of something. In a sentence, you might say something like, I have a lot of hobbies. I like skiing, snowboarding, and whitewater rafting. So just spell them separately. Don't put it all together. Oh, the next, there, and there. Students of English tend to be better about spelling these words than native speakers of English, and I find that very interesting. The first there, T-H-E-R-E, refers to a place, as in he lives over there. The book is over there, somewhere other than where you are right now. The second form, T-H-E-I-R, is the possessive form of they, as in that's their house, that's their dog, something that belongs to some other group of people. And the last form, T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E, they are, refers to a quality about another group of people, as in they are the students, they are the teachers. It's the contracted form of they are. Onward. The next word is grateful. Grateful, the meaning of grateful. Grateful just means that you're appreciative of something. In a sentence, you might say, oh, I feel so grateful. My teacher took time after class to explain this concept to me. Grateful is commonly misspelled because this G-R-A-T-E sounds just like the word great, G-R-E-A-T. But actually, that great, good meaning is not the correct spelling for this word. We use great instead. This spelling of great is also used as a verb, as in to grate things in the kitchen. I don't know if that has any relation to this or not. Probably not. It's G-R-A-T-E. Next is receive. Receive. To receive something as a verb means to be given something or to get something. Receive can be kind of tricky because of the I and the E, a place where the I before E except after C rule applies. It's not a 100% true rule, but typically after the letter C, if the letters E and I need to follow it, after the letter C, I is typically not the first letter to come. Usually it's E that's the first letter. So it should be C-E-I-V-E, receive, rather than receive, or something like that. In a sample sentence, you might say, I received a gift from my friend on my birthday. I was really happy about that. The next word is end. All right, end is not very commonly misspelled, but thank you for joining us for this episode of Weekly Words. Please watch your spelling with these words, as it can be very important to get them right. Thanks again, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Welcome back to Weekly Words. I'm Alicia, and this week we are going to do words with strange plural forms. This is good practice, I bet. Let's start. Yeah. Antenna. The plural form of antenna is antennae. I think I would say antennae. Antennae. I think I would probably actually just say antennas. An antenna on an old TV set, for example, would kind of look like this. We'd call it bunny ears, where you had to adjust the bunny ears. You had to adjust the antennae to make the signal on your TV come in more clearly. Bugs, they have antennae from their heads. The next word is millennium. The plural is millennia. A millennium is a period of 1,000 years. 1,000 years is a millennium. A series of thousands of years would be called millennia. You might say, many millennia have passed since the earth was formed. Cactus is the next word. A cactus is a plant, a thorny plant. These are the arms of the cactus. I couldn't make the trunk of the cactus. Wow, you can put a picture on the screen instead of my amazing cactus. Cactus, the plural of cactus is cacti or cactuses. I think I'm more inclined to say cacti. So when you go to the desert, you might say, keep an eye out for cacti. If you step on one, it could really hurt you. The next one is an interesting one. I don't think I've ever used this word in the singular. Like, if you have a swimming pool or if you've seen a pond or whatever, it's that green sort of scummy stuff that accumulates on top of it or on the sides of your pool if you haven't cleaned it in a while. Algae, bacterias, and things that like to live in the water. There's a singular form, and I'm looking at it for the first time. I don't know how. Alga? To use the plural, then you would say, I need to clean my pool. There's a lot of algae in it. Yeah. Next is ox. Ox. The plural of ox is oxen. These animals used to be used for farming. I don't know that they are very much anymore. I don't have much personal experience with farming. But they look like really, really big cows with huge horns. Huge horns, yeah. Okay, next is the end. Plural. Words that have weird plural forms. So please keep them in mind when you are trying to use them in conversation and use the correct form of the plural. Thank you for joining us again this week for Weekly Words. Next time we will see you for more Weekly Words. That was weird. We'll see you again next week for more fun information. Take care. Bye. Welcome back to Weekly Words. My name is Alicia, and this week we are going to look at commonly misinterpreted phrases. The first phrase is, I couldn't care less. People will often say, I could care less, but that doesn't really mean the same thing as I couldn't care less, short for I could not care less. It is not possible for me to care any less about this situation. So it's just emphasizing that whatever's going on, it doesn't bother you. In a sentence, my coworker's project wasn't successful and I couldn't care less. Oh, jerk. All right, next is nip it in the bud. Many people say nip it in the butt. It should be nip it in the bud. Bud in this case might refer to a flower before it blossoms, that small shape before the flower actually opens up. We call that a bud. So to nip something would mean to take something quickly, like biting, taking motion. To nip something in the bud would mean to stop something before it becomes something else. Stopping something negative from happening. Knitting a sweater, because I was knitting a sweater earlier. There's a section of the sweater where the thread, the yarn has started to unravel, and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I need to nip this in the bud. Nip this in the bud. So you decide to fix it right away instead of letting the sweater just slowly unravel as you work on it. Next is one and the same, not one in the same. I'm probably guilty of this one, actually. One and the same just refers to something that is maybe has two names, but both of those names refer to the same thing or the same person. My teacher and my father are one and the same person. Maybe, if your dad is your teacher in school, you could use this expression. On tenterhooks. On tenterhooks is the next expression. This isn't a phrase that I'm familiar with. I don't use this one, but it seems that some people use the phrase on tenterhooks. I'm not really sure what tenterhooks are. This expression is used when people are looking forward to learning the outcome of something, or kind of maybe there's anticipation, they're anticipating something. Maybe you would use this when you're watching a movie, perhaps, like I was on tenterhooks to learn about the end of the story. Something like that, maybe. Next, moot point. Not mute point, but moot point. Something that is irrelevant. Something that there's just no point in talking about it. It is moot. There's no meaning. A moot point. A moot point. That's funny. I don't know. Let's ask the internets. Hey Siri. Oh no. Okay. You're looking for a guy to fill a position and you find a guy and he's a great programmer and he's fantastic, but it's a moot point because he's a convict. Onward. Wow, that was a long one. End. That's the last one. Okay, that's the end of commonly misinterpreted phrases. Be careful when you use these phrases and make sure to get them right. Thank you very much for joining us this week. We'll see you again next time for more. Bye. You're excited about something? Anxious or like looking forward to something? The origins of this phrase are unclear. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia, and today I'm joined again in the studio by
Michael, hello.
And today we're going to be talking about bad habits in English. So these are some things that we've heard before, or mistakes that native speakers and non-native speakers of English make and that drive us crazy. So let us begin. You start. What's your first thing?
This doesn't bug me too much until someone points it out about me, and then it drives me nuts. Yeah. Okay, once you tell someone that they say or like too much, then every time they say it, they notice it, and it's really hard to get a thought out because these are filler words that you almost always use, or I always use, maybe Americans always use, but It's really tough not to use the word like or I think, when you're just speaking casually.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, like.
Right?
Now,
See?
why
Exactly.
did you have to make
I did
that the
this
first
yeah.
word? Why did you have to make that the first one? Actually, we talked about that. We have a video, I think, from probably like a year ago, one of the English Weekly Words videos, where the word like was one of the words that Americans overuse. I don't know where that information came from, but that was, see, oh my God, now I'm suddenly aware of it.
Right.
Why,
Yeah, just
God,
killed
this whole thing, I'm going to be thinking about how often I say like and Okay, let's see, I'm going to go to one that I think all of us talked about and all of us were aware of before we even turned the camera on, but this is a written problem that drives me nuts, and there are so many variations on this with other words, but this is the big one. Your, Y-O-U-R, this is a do not equal sign, Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. So this one, your, Y-O-U-R, is a possessive word. This is your shirt, your bag, your whatever. Y-O-U apostrophe R-E is a contracted form of you-are. Interestingly enough, though, I will say that I rarely see non-native speakers of English make this mistake. Most of the time, it's native speakers who make this mistake. Come on, guys. Really? It just drives me nuts.
Yeah, that one
really drives me nuts.
That one bugs me too, because it's really simple. I mean, there's another one that still kind of bugs me, but I'm more forgiving, is its and its, because they're both I-T-S, and one of them has an apostrophe, and in both cases, it seems reasonable, because you can use an apostrophe for possessive or for a contraction. So both seem reasonable. And you just have to do like, a mnemonic device, figure it out. There's rules. I'm sure there's a, English Class 101 episode on it,
No
but,
apostrophe is the one that's the possessive. The apostrophe S is the one that's short for it has or it is.
Right. But it makes sense. It's kind of tough for some people to remember. You or your and your, that really upsets me.
Yeah.
Just because it's so easy.
It's simple. That and there, we talked about this earlier before this. The there, and there. The possessive T-H-E-I-R. For that's their house, that's their dog, T-H-E-R-E, it's over there, and T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E, they are. There are three different theirs. Sound the same, but they have different meanings, and they should be spelled differently too. So, come on, native speakers, get it together. Okay. All right, next one for you. What's your next one?
Along the same lines of being just like correct, could of. So I think the problem with a lot of these words is, so it's supposed to be could have. But when you're speaking the language, any language, you make it quicker and quicker, and you kind of slur the words together. So like, for example, grandma or grandma. Like native speakers, you don't really say the D, you just say like grandma. And so as a kid, I thought that's how you spelled it. And I remember spelling G-R-A-M-M-A. Someone told me, no, that's not it. So could have, it makes sense why people would say could have, but it's not proper, and you shouldn't get in the habit of doing it. I think most of these things, you can be forgiving when they're kids, but it's best to nip it in the bud, because, it just becomes a bad habit.
Yeah, and I mean, with could have, there is a correct contracted spelled version. It's just could have apostrophe V-E, could have. I mean, I would argue that it's more casual, and it's perhaps not the most correct thing to write. I probably would just write could have. I probably wouldn't use the contracted form so much. Use of contractions will make you sound more casual. If you want to write a formal letter, I feel you should not use contractions. If you're writing an academic paper as well, don't use contractions. Spell it out, spell the whole thing out. You'll sound much more formal and more, at least in my mind, more educated. All right, great. This topic is getting me all like fancy. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go to, another pronunciation issue that I feel like almost is cool now. Okay. Let me ask you a question. This pronunciation, okay, so I've written axe on this card, but it's ask, A-S-K, let me ask. Okay, so this let me, which we talked about in a previous video, which is short for let me, I've contracted it here to the very casual let me. But I've used let me here because this is typically said in a very, very casual setting. Let me ask you a question. But the pronunciation of ask should not be ax. It's ask. Let me ask you a question. I want to ask you something. It's not ax. It's ask. Ask.
Yeah, this one, again, so like lemmy is okay. I think most people say lemmy. I think that's okay. But for some reason, axe, I think a lot of these just are not even close at all. Let me, when you say it really fast, it sounds like lemmy.
Lemmy.
Right? But when you say axe, it's just totally wrong.
Well, it's reversing the consonants in the word ask.
Right, it's not faster. You're not making it quicker. You're not slurring or making, putting it into one little like fluid blob. It's just, you just switch the two syllables. Or
Similarly, I hear this with the word asterisk as well. The little star that's on like the number 8 on your keyboard or whatever, this looking thing, it's not an asterisk. Or what? I don't even know, it's asterisk.
So, overpronunciation. So this one is kind of the opposite direction. So this whole time we've been kind of nitpicking when you use the incorrect version of a word. I think overpronunciation can also be equally as damaging, but instead of making you look stupid, it makes you look pretentious. So for example, we don't say in English, we don't use all of the syllables with chocolate. So it's like when you spell it, chocolate. Wait, chocolate, right? And so like maybe in Spanish or something like that, they would still say that, like chocolate or something, whatever. But with English, we took it out. And so even though you still spell all of those syllables, native speakers now say chocolate. Or like comfortable, comfortable. That's how it's spelled. But native English speakers, we say comfortable. And this is like, now I think it's like unanimous. So maybe when slang becomes so popular that it's part of the new language, the language is now evolved, if you don't go with the flow, even though it's incorrect, I think you sound pretentious.
That's a great one. I like that a lot. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up. I have 2 actually. I think I can do them quickly though. Do you have any more, by the way? No?
No.
Okay, then I'll go quickly. These are 2, my last 2 are just a couple that my students actually struggle with, so maybe this is something that you can work on as well. This one, just an example sentence, I want to go to there. I've underlined the word to here. We use the word to when we're talking about a specific city or a specific country, like I want to go to New York, I want to go to Europe, but there is not a specific location. I want to go to there. Is not a specific place. So you don't need to use to in this sentence. I want to go there is perfectly fine. So this is a mistake that non-native speakers, it seem to make from time to time. Perhaps. Okay. And then another one that I've heard a lot recently is this phrase, in case of, and then a country. So for example, in case of China, in case of Egypt or whatever, where someone is trying to explain like the political situation or a policy in that country, in case of. But actually, you don't need to use case of, just in China, in Europe, in Japan, whatever. You don't need to use case of. This pattern, in case of, is used for like an emergency situation or used to talk about alternate plans, often to do with weather. So for example, in case of rain, the event will be canceled. Or in case of tornado, please go to your nearest evacuation center. I don't know, something like that. So it's used for like an emergency situation. It's not used to talk about policies in a country. It's just used in plus the place. It's much better, much more natural. So those are a few things that I've noticed that non-native speakers struggle with sometimes. So perhaps they'll be helpful for you as well. So thanks very much for watching. If you have a bad habit that you've noticed when you're speaking English, or if you've noticed a bad habit in somebody else in their English speaking or their writing or whatever, please leave it in a comment and let's compare. It might be interesting to see if there are any other things that people tend to struggle with. Thanks very much for watching this episode, and we will see you again soon. Bye. Here I go, here I go, here I go. Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. Welcome back to Top Words. Today we're going to be talking about 10 phrases that make you look like a fool. Hopefully you never use them. Let's start. I don't need to learn anything anymore. I don't need to learn anything anymore. If you say this, you sound like I know all the information ever. I'm done learning, I'm done studying. Of course you need to learn, of course you need to study. Please don't say this phrase. I don't need your advice. I don't need your advice. I don't need your advice. You sound like you don't appreciate what they're saying. You sound like you don't want to hear anything from them. I really think that you need to be studying more. I'm concerned about your grades, Jeff. I don't need your advice, Mom. I know everything. I know everything. This is awful. Nobody wants to hear you say this because it's just not true. Are you ready for the test next week, Steve? Yeah, I'm good. I know everything. No, you don't. I'm not ready to learn English. I'm not ready to learn English. You can study anything at any time, pretty much. I really think that you should start studying English before your trip to America next year. No, I don't think I'm ready to start learning English. See how stupid that sounds? Ah! もういいよ. 英語いらないよ. I'm right and you're wrong. I'm right and you're wrong. You sound awful when you say this. Nobody likes to hear that they've made a mistake and that you're happy about that. That's what the nuance of this phrase is. I'm right, you're wrong. Don't say this phrase unless you're very, very close with the other person and you know that it's okay to joke together. I'm right, you're wrong. It's too hard. Don't even try. It's too hard, don't even try. This sounds like you're giving up before you've even started doing something. If you don't try, you never know. Right? Hey, I think I'm gonna start studying English this week because I'm going to Canada next year. What do you think? Don't even try, it's way too hard. Oh, really? You think it's too hard? Okay, I guess I won't. Don't do that. Just do what I say. Just do what I say. Just do what I say. Parents might use this phrase a lot with their children, actually. But if you say this to your friends or to your colleagues, you're gonna sound like a really mean or difficult to work with person. Just do what I say. We can't do that. The next phrase is we can't do that. This could also be changed to I can't do that. Again, this sounds like you're giving up before you've even tried to do something. I can't do that. You're not prepared or you're not even willing to try. Hey, Stevens, do you think that you could take care of this report for next week? We need it for our client meeting. No, I don't think I can do that. No, that's not my job. That's not my responsibility. You're not very smart. You're not very smart. That's not a nice thing to say. If someone makes a mistake and you say, oh, you're not very smart, that's so mean, it's so rude. Everybody makes mistakes from time to time. Don't tell them that they're stupid. Don't say you're not very smart. That's hurtful. And an example of what not to do. I'm so sorry about this mistake that I made in my report last week. I'll fix it. I promise I'll fix it and I'll send it to you right away. I can't believe you made such a simple mistake. You're not very smart, are you? Everybody makes mistakes. You'll never succeed. You'll never succeed. You'll never succeed. This is a phrase that shows you're not supporting the other person, and maybe you're even trying to hold them back. How awful is that? Who would say that? Don't say that. And I hope no one ever says this to you. I'm gonna join a marathon race next summer. I can't wait. A marathon? You're never gonna succeed with that. Do you know how hard those are? Have you even started training? Well, no, but I think I can do it. I just need a few months and, I need to take care of myself and work hard. No way. There's no way that you can do that. It's not possible. Oh, you really think so? I was so looking forward to it, too. Thank goodness that's the end. Oh my gosh, those were some sad phrases. I hope that nobody says those phrases to you, but I hope also that you don't use these phrases with other people because they're hurtful, really. Try to be positive. So thanks very much for joining us for this lesson, and we will see you again soon. Bye. I'm very insecure about my acting abilities. Well, there's sound coming through this. I love the awkward pauses. Yeah. Today's video is on words Americans overuse. I haven't seen these words yet, but apparently it's going to be a series of words that we as Americans, I'm American, we overuse. We use too often. So let's start. The first word is definitely. Definitely is definitely a word that Americans overuse. We use it to put emphasis at the end of a phrase, to put emphasis at the end of a sentence, as in, oh, that party last week was so great. Yeah, definitely. Or to agree with somebody like that. Oh, God, literally. Oh, just in the last few days, I've seen the word literally so many times on the internet and used in just such stupid ways. The word literally means actually or truly something. This is literally the best hamburger I've ever eaten. So literally, meaning truly or actually, would mean that in that person's entire life, that is the best hamburger they've ever eaten. However, it gets misused a lot in sentences, like George Bush was literally supporting the war in Iraq or something like that. Taking a phrase like that literally would have to mean that, the former president would be, physically supporting a war with his body. Onward? Onward. Hilarious! Hilarious is the next word. I like to use the word hilarious when something is actually funny. Hilarious, of course, means something that is really funny, super funny. It's a step above funny, maybe 2 steps, 3 steps, I don't know. However, people like to use this word in place of laughter. So, for example, friends are talking, and instead of just laughing, the friend will say, "That's hilarious." It's like, well, if it's so hilarious, just laugh. Oh, this must be the last one, because this is the worst one. This word is like. I've probably said it several times already today. For the purposes of this video, the word like is used as a filler word. So it's the same as something such as or for example. We use like as a filler word when we're trying to think of something. It's not uncommon to hear the word repeated like 3, 4, 5 times in a row when someone is thinking. They'll say, "Oh, you know that party that I went to? Do you know who was there?" It just invades your speech sometimes when you're trying to think of something and no other filler words come out, but the word like does. Ah, this wasn't the last word. There is another one. Seriously. Seriously is used. Oh, it's good for anytime you receive bad news. Well, not from your boss. It's a really casual word. But if you hear something like your friend lost their job, and you can sympathize with them or maybe empathize with them by saying, "Seriously? Oh, that's too bad." Or, "Oh, tell me, like, all your problems." Oh my God, I just used like. Oh God, oh, I hate myself. Is that the end? It's the end! All right, well, I hope you enjoyed learning about a few words that Americans overuse. I'm sure that there are more words that Americans overuse, but perhaps you'll find those out on your own. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.